Welcome to the NTN Nightly. I'm Misha Charles. This edition's top stories. Another critical step has been taken towards the commissioning of the Owen King EU Hospital. St. Lucia is poised for another successful tourist season this winter. The local manufacturing sector to benefit from special provisions on the Caricom. All that plus the latest in youth development, sports, and the NTN Nouvelle Arqueon. On Tuesday, the 26th of November, during the sitting of Parliament, another critical step was taken towards the commissioning of the Owen King EU Hospital, the OKEU. Prime Minister Honorable Alan Chasney piloted a bill for amendments to the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Act, which addresses the employment of public officers at the new hospital. During the lengthy debate that ensued, the Prime Minister made it clear that government was not privatizing the OKEU. The Millennium Heights Medical Complex Act provides for the establishment of a board which is responsible for the overall management and administration of the medical complex, which includes employment. Under that act, anyone seeking employment at the medical complex would no longer make that application for the public service, but through the administrative apparatus of the medical complex and be subjected to the conditions of the employment therein. Based on the Pensions Act Cap 15.26, the use of the word transfer does not encompass a movement as that envisaged in the Medical Heights Complex Act. Prime Minister Honorable Chasney says the Millennium Heights Medical Complex Bill amendment seeks to cure any ambiguity by deleting any reference to the transfer of a public officer to the complex and to only make reference to the secondment of that public officer. Honorable Chasney explained further.
The understanding of my side with regards to transfer is an act that can take place with a public servant within the government. So I can transfer somebody from commerce to tourism. I can transfer somebody from infrastructure to economic development. And so a transfer applies to within the government service. But you cannot transfer a public servant outside of the public service. And the member from Beaufort South also correctly indicated, how can you be a servant of two masters? The purpose of being seconded is simply in order to be able to preserve your pension.
The Honorable Prime Minister reiterated that there is no intention by his government, nor has there ever been, to privatize the Owen King EU Hospital.
And furthermore, Mr. Speaker, in order to protect the rights of the workers, we must take away the word transfer. It does not apply in this case. We must make sure that they're all seconded. And when they are seconded, they are the responsibility of the Millennium Heights. If anything happens, they come back to the public service. That's the purpose of the secondment, as well as protecting their pension.
The Millennium Heights Medical Complex includes the Owen King EU Hospital, the National Mental Wellness Center, and the Turning Point Rehabilitation Center. St. Lucia is poised for another successful tourist season this winter with the new non-stop American Airlines flight from Chicago. Tourism Minister Honorable Dominic Fady, during Tuesday's Parliament session, updated the nation on the gains of the industry year to date. Here's Janelle Norville.
The government of St. Lucia is looking to capitalize fully on the fast-approaching peak winter period. Minister for Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and Creative Industries, Honorable Dominic Fady, indicated that significant effort is going into increasing airlift from North America, and figures thus far have been positive.
The U.S. market is reflecting a load factor of 91.2%. And despite higher fares, Mr. Speaker, the Canadian market is up by 88.7% load factor in all airlines coming from Canada. Mr. Speaker, we aim to leave no stone unturned in increasing our overall airlift position. Mr. Speaker, on December 21, the destination will welcome an inaugural flight from Chicago. Mr. Speaker, herein with no MRGs. Mr. Speaker, we see that already, because of the tremendous work that the St. Lucia Tourism Authority has done, we see that the flight, Mr. Speaker, is arriving in St. Lucia on December 21 at full capacity. Mr. Speaker, our discussions with British Airways have yielded tremendous fruit, and when announced later this year, will compensate for the expected fallout of Virgin Atlantic intended withdrawal from St. Lucia next summer.
In preparation for the intended fallout, a comprehensive marketing campaign has been instituted for the UK to ensure growth and sustainability in the country's second largest tourism market. St. Lucia continues to be among the fastest growing tourism destinations in the region.
The St. Lucia Tourism Authority, Mr. Speaker, reports that year-to-date October, St. Lucia's growth is at 7.5% in stayover arrivals. Mr. Speaker, this is well above our target of 6% projected for this year. Mr. Speaker, markets like the United States are up by 3.5%, Canada 17%, and the rest of the world are up by a whopping 28%. Mr. Speaker, the Caribbean market is abuzz with a brand Caricom that is laser focused on welcoming regional visitors, whereby, as such, Mr. Speaker, the Caribbean market is up by 9%. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, Caricom is also undertaking a major 2020 roadshow in several islands this week, having just concluded major engagements in Grenada and Barbados.
St. Lucia is poised to record even more growth in the highest revenue-generating industry, the tourism industry. For the Government Information Service, I am Janelle Norville.
Prime Minister Honorable Alan Chastanet, in his capacity as chairman of Caricom, was part of a delegation on November 19 that participated in a roundtable discussion in the U.S. Congress to address the matters of correspondent banking and de-risking. Caricom thought it vital to engage the U.S. government and key industry players on actions to address decisively the actual and potential challenges posed to our economies by the de-risking actions that have been taken by U.S. banks. According to Caricom reports, by mid-2018, between 25% and 75% of the 50 banks operating across Caricom member states had reported either termination of or restrictions on correspondent banking services. Other negative consequences of de-risking have been an increase in operational costs, an extension in the processing time for international payments, as well as increased difficulty in account opening or securing banking services.
There was an amendment to the U.S. legislation after the financial crisis, and that amendment changed the penalties towards infractions as it pertained to this issue. Previously, the penalty was imposed on the size of the infraction. So if it was a $1,000 infraction, the penalty would be imposed based on it being $1,000. What followed, Mr. Speaker, was that the U.S. Congress changed that act and now imposes a fine on the size of the bank. So imagine if you are the Bank of America and now you have a small infraction taking place, but the penalty would be based on the fact that you're a $1 billion company. As a result of that action, Mr. Speaker, the banks then did an audit of our region and found many of our indigenous banks lacking the level of scrutiny of security or review that they required, and realized that in their weakness, it exposed them to being fined. And as a result of it, many of the correspondent banks decided to be able to withdraw from our country.
Domestic banks rely on correspondent banks to access international financial markets and overseas geographic regions. Without this intermediary service, numerous transactions that are routinely carried out on behalf of all clients of the banks would be impossible.
We agreed to work together to address the vexing matter of compliance. In that regard, the OECS proposal to establish a single compliance department was welcomed. We also agreed to reconsider the structure and the governance of our financial review units to ensure that they operate independently and are not viewed as arms of the executive, thence open to undue and improper influence. In improving our compliance mechanism, we were encouraged to consider the approaches set out in the Wolfsburg Principles and to embrace know your customer anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing best practices policy. A great success, Mr. Speaker, was the Bank of America and Wells Fargo both reaffirmed their recommitment to remain in the region.
Honorable Shastney noted that Caricom countries have been taking steps to enhance our anti-money laundering, countering financing of terrorism capacity.
What this means, for instance, is that tourists who are coming to our country would not be able to use their credit card to go shopping. They would not be able to use their credit cards to be able to go to restaurants. But similarly, solutions who are looking to travel, Mr. Speaker, would not be able to go online and book an airline ticket on JetBlue or American Airlines or Delta. Also, all the online shopping that we're currently doing and people are using their credit cards, we would be prohibited from being able to do that. Because without a correspondent bank, it means that we don't have anyone to be able to transfer our cash to the other merchants on a global basis.
And that was Prime Minister the Honorable Alan Shastney speaking Tuesday in Parliament. And this is the NTN Nightly. Ryan O'Brien is up next.
Pamela, I noticed that you built your retaining wall on my property. You will have to give me my land back or compensate me for that.
My contractor isn't dumb. I trust that he will not build anything on your property. Where is your proof?
Let's go to court.
This situation does not require you to go to court. Looks like we have to go through mediation here. Mediation is a way people resolve conflicts like this. Someone, a third party, comes to speak to both parties. This person is called the mediator. The mediator is impartial. He or she makes sure that communication between both parties is effective and efficient.
So, the mediator is a judge?
No, the mediator is not a judge. Mediators, unlike judges, do not decide cases or impose settlements.
Let me get a mediator to handle this retaining wall and that kitchen.
Kitchen?
Yes, your kitchen also falls on my land. Let me call the mediator.
Welcome back. We join Ryan O'Brien for the latest happenings in youth development and sports.
I'm Ryan O'Brien with your nightly update from the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports on the NTN Nightly News. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports continued its preparations for the staging of the annual National Sports Awards to be held on February 15, 2020. Members of the planning committee were able to move the process forward and agree on some important logistics. Among them are the prospects and challenges of a new venue, nominations for the various categories of awards, and the identification of a judging panel. The ministry also plans to stick to a strict December 27th deadline for national associations to submit their nominees for the awards. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports is spearheading an effort to get more coaches within primary schools on the island. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports is looking to strengthen the base of netball at the primary schools level. Part of this initiative was a presentation Wednesday on child safety and protection, covering a wide range of issues and protocols, including misuse or abuse of children. Anthony Lamontine is the Youth and Sports Officer at the Ministry.
This initiative is important to us as we are now preparing some 9 young coaches, beginning coaches, to service some primary schools. And part of their training, which began with a Level 1 coaching certification in CCCP, Caribbean Coaching Certification, and followed by a one-day sport-specific, netball-specific workshop, leading now into the child safety and protection, which we believe now the participants, the coaches are now equipped or better off to serve at primary schools.
Netball coach within the ministry, Shem Maxwell, was elated with the decision to get more coaches introduced within primary schools.
It's very important. It's at a crucial stage right now in netball. Netball has been on a download in St. Lucia, especially at the primary schools. And I think the initiative is a very good one. Starting off in January, hopefully we'll have those 9 coaches going to primary schools in a different district, from District 2 all the way to District 8.
Wednesday's presentation was delivered by Sophia Edwards Gabriel, Curriculum Officer for Health and Family Life at the Ministry of Education. And with that, we have come to the end of your update from Youth Development and Sports for today. I'm Ryan O'Brien.
Thanks, Ryan. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry, Enterprise Development and Consumer Affairs is laying the groundwork for St. Lucia's implementation of Article 164 under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The article makes provision for the development of the manufacturing sector in less developed member states of Caricom. Anissa Antoine explains.
Article 164 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas seeks to promote industrial development in the less developed countries of Caricom, including St. Lucia. In accordance with a decision of the 74th Special Meeting of Caricom Council for Trade and Development, the Ministry of Commerce, International Trade, Investment, Enterprise Development and Consumer Affairs informed that tariff rates on selected items from more developed countries coming to less developed countries will be adjusted upwards. Dr. Thomas Samuel is the Director of International Trade at the Ministry of Commerce.
The list covers some 14 tariff product groups, 14 product groups, about 39 tariff lines. Water, you have paint, you have solar water heaters and so on, which we can get into, beer, malt, stout and so others. But if that good, if a competing good comes from, say, Trinidad, the MDCs are Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, and Suriname, and Guyana, okay? If a good on that list comes from any of these territories, it would face a tariff coming into an LDC. That gives the competing good made in the LDC some competitive advantage.
Dr. Samuel noted that St. Lucia is amongst the benefiting LDCs that are required to suspend the original treaty agreement and apply the approved rates on classified goods from MDCs of Caricom and from outside the region until December 2028, except for curry powder and pasta, which expires in December 2023. Cosbert Woods, Program Officer at the OACS Commission, explained that various interventions will be undertaken to enhance the capacity and develop the skill set and standards of the businesses in LDCs to increase their competitiveness.
You look at the business ecosystem, right? So the logistics associated with the production in terms of sourcing inputs, production methodology, access to finance, and then at the macro level, you also look at matters pertaining to supportive government policies, incentive regimes, and things of that nature, which would be able to not only benefit the companies, but the wider manufacturing industries within St. Lucia and the wider LDCs.
Imports of the selected items from Caricom LDCs, which include countries of the OACS, Haiti, and Belize, benefit from community origin treatment and would attract a tariff rate of 0%. All LDCs have formally lent their support to Article 164. From the Government Information Service, I am Anissa Antoine reporting.
And stay with the NTN Nightly. Up next, Primus Hutchinson is here with the NTN Nouvelle en Creole.
I'm innovative.
Yeah! I'm competitive! I'm productive.
I am creative.
I constantly improve what I do and how I do it.
I am output-oriented.
I never stop learning.
I give up my best, always.
The National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, embracing excellence.
Welcome back. We join Primus Hutchinson for the NTN Nouvelle en Creole.
Monsieur, Madame, département qui a responsabilité pour information en gouvernement de GIS, assume télévision nationale pays NTN, qui a posé nouvelle en créole, posé Primus Hutchinson. Travail de construction à l'hôpital Neuf Saint-Jude, qui a marché en façon qui a satisfait le gouvernement pays. Annoncement ça l'a fait par le ministre de la responsabilité pour le développement économique, c'est honorable Guy Joseph. Durant un petit causé et puis nouvelle à Créole, ministre Guy Joseph déclaré que travail qu'a fait à ça qui était déjà construit et aussi l'autre travail qui était mérité fait pour pousser finissement bon projet santé ça là pour façade sud cette laissée.
So c'est ça nous a servi, nous a commencé bâti travail qui allait bien, n'importe monde qui passe là qui ouais travail là qui marché très bien. Moi plaît avec design là nous ni pour l'hôpital là pour ces monde qui a dit nous pas ni droit because d'ici poko ban nous pouvoir pour aller faire ça. Moi voulais dire ça pas vrai nous ni permission from d'ici pour nous ça fait travail là qui a fait là et diwan c'est si maintenant qui a venir monde qui ouais plus en plus qu'a fait pour montrer dat travail là nous te promettre dat nous qu'a fait.
Selon le ministre du Développement économique, le gouvernement a promis qu'il a fait pour que l'hôpital Saint-Jude ouvert avant de vivre en bout de terme en gouvernance.
Nous te promettons date nous qu'a fait, c'est tout plan gouvernement, c'est date nous qu'a ouvert et fini l'hôpital là avant nous en office boot nous te promettre date là nous te venir gouvernement nous avons responsabilité pour faire ça et gouvernement kay chen promettre pour délivrer à ce projet Saint-Jude qui a bâti à dans manière côté kay ça résister tremblement de terre et hurricane et différents bails because nous pas mais galvanisant les whole bail la ka fait en maçon et qui a bien bâti comme l'hôpital il kay ni 96 couche en dit dans l'hôpital ça il y a tous ces différents services là qu'on peut joindre dans l'hôpital qui est available en Saint-Jude.
Les pêcheurs en wet choisi qui ont trouvé bonne assistance au gouvernement Japon. Représentatif pour choisir honorable Bradley Felix qui est retourné au Japon et puis une délégation pêcheur et ministre agricole déclaré que le gouvernement Japon est d'accord pour aider à corriger la situation, faciliter pêche et problème sand bord de la mer choisi.
L'année, il y a un gros team qui a descendu sorti du Japon en janvier et qui a dit nous qui ça il a fait by choisi. Bon, il a venu avec deux plans. Il y a un plan pour ça il a créé long term et un plan qui a créé short term. Puis temps pour faire ça il veut faire. Nous avons estimé le problème pour tirer ça. So, nous avons une autre solution nous en short term pour délèguer ça. Mais je peux être bénéficiel, mais je suis bien content de te porter gens pêcher même choisi. So, ouais, qui manière nous aller, manière nous négocier pour eux. So, yo senti ça qui a fait. So, mais yo ka une petite patience avec ça qui a fait en pont là actuellement et que nous tout cas espérer pour laisser ces Japonais là descendre en janvier.
Le maire Vilcastri, Peterson Francis, j'ai fait un appel pour les citoyens pour responsabilité ni qui a baillé autorisation pour arrêter moun qui yo trouvé qui a fait pièce de France en présence et bien en public, particulièrement en Vilcastri. Monsieur le maire fait appel ça là après un passager bateau touriste qui était en la route Castri, se trouvé attaqué à Coyen la rue Coral et Jeremy en ville Castri samedi après-midi. C'était un gens pays l'Allemagne qui trouvait en situation ça là. Les polices pour considérer ville Castri te conduit étranger à vivre à bord bateau. Ça c'est après il te dit il pas d'accord pour porter pièce plainte contre moun qui te fait offense là. Il dit qu'il pas à vouloir ces police là pour accumuler yo. Monsieur le maire Castri te visité place là côté crime la fait et te très distrait et contrarié concernant la situation ça là. En résultat de ça, il criait à les citoyens pour prendre action contre ces qualités offenses ça là qui a fait en ville Castri. Il déclare que les citoyens cette ci nous pour entrer en la guerre et puis tous les criminels. Monsieur le maire Francis a ajouté que loi pays a concerné les criminels qui a fait provision pour les citoyens arrêter n'importe monde qui est engagé dans pièces de offense en public. Selon le maire Francis, il y a l'air pour les criminels trouver une leçon par les citoyens en bas de loi cette ci. Il faut et puis en pile force qui paye ni pour voir une commission très sérieuse pour les criminels. Selon M. le maire, et toute collaboration que j'ai faite pour établir police en ville Castri, nous pas à quitter yon des malfoutis croisés succès qui j'ai fait en industrie touristique. Il dit que nous pas à quitter les mauvaises détruire société cette ci. Monsieur le maire continue pour dire que cette lycéen, si cette lycéen était plus brave, assez pour arrêter plus de monde qui a fait Théo France, nous avons plus meilleure société qui a plus la paix. C'est comme ça, nous avons votre nouvelle là. Je vous remercie autant pour regarder, pour avoir une invitation. Pour faire depuis moi, conserver la vie, nous avons posé l'autre nouvelle à Créole. Après ça, nous avons posé Michel.
Messiopil Primus. And here's a look at what's happening to us weather-wise.
Moist and unstable conditions over the extreme southern portion of the region will continue to cause cloudiness, showers and isolated thunderstorms over that area. Elsewhere, generally fair weather conditions will prevail. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the tropical Atlantic during the next 5 days. Tides for Castries Harbour were high at 3:42 p.m., low at 10:36 p.m. Tides for Beaufort Bay were high at 4:49 p.m., low at 12:03 a.m. Seas were moderate to locally rough with waves 5 to 7 feet or 1.5 to 2.1 meters. Small craft operators and sea bathers are advised to exercise caution due to above normal seas. The sun will rise Thursday at 6:10 a.m.
And that brings us to the end of the NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I'm Nisha Charles.